Over the next 5 days, Blaze City, already a hotspot, saw its energy surge at a breakneck pace. From across the Chaos Demon Sea, formidable figures converged here, turning Blaze City into the liveliest place in the region. However, as these countless powerful individuals gathered, the city inevitably descended into chaos. The warriors of Chaos Demon Sea were known for their unruly nature. Although many initially hesitated out of respect for the Flame Deity Palace, the sheer number of arrivals soon led to disputes, breaking out all over, transforming Blaze City into a swirl of wild skirmishes. Yet this disorder didn't last. When Tang Xinlian arrived with her orderly and disciplined enforcement team, marching with the cohesion of a military unit, many were stunned by the icy sharpness radiating from her expression. The name Fire Fairy of the Flame Deity Palace, Tang Xinlian, was already well known throughout the Chaos Demon Sea. Her position as second on the Rising Star list also forced those who had dismissed her as just a girl to tread carefully, hiding any disrespect. Tang Xinlian's methods were indeed effective. Within a matter of days, she led her enforcement team to ruthlessly suppress the mayhem, bringing order back to the city. Once more, her reputation blazed, making her the most talked-about figure in Blaze City. Each time Tang Xinlian took her team on patrol, curious onlookers would often follow, creating an amusing spectacle and providing lively gossip for those waiting for the upcoming Thunder Dominion tournament. During these days of waiting, Lin Dong found himself unusually free. Likely due to Tang Xinlian's influence, neither Huang Ling nor anyone else came looking for trouble, and even Qing Ting only shot him an amused glance when they occasionally crossed paths, making no move to provoke him. Clearly, they all had their reservations about Tang Xinlian. Lin Dong found this situation rather ironic. Since when had he come to rely on a woman's reputation? Although he felt a bit unsettled by it, he didn't take any action. Tang Xinlian was already busy keeping Blaze City under control, and he had no intention of adding to her burdens. In a towering pavilion overlooking the city, Lin Dong leaned against the window, his gaze slowly sweeping over the bustling expanse below. Heh, Brother Lin Dong seems to be enjoying some leisure. As Lin Dong surveyed the city, a warm laugh sounded behind him. He turned to find a man in blue, standing there quietly. Lin Dong showed little surprise, as he'd sensed his presence. "I am Jose." The blue-robed man smiled at Lin Dong. His features, though not striking, had a certain charm, and the faint smile on his lips exuded genuine warmth. "Little Elephant King, Jose?" Lin Dong raised an eyebrow, then smiled. "I've heard much about you." He was a bit surprised. Jose, known as the Little Elephant King, was a standout among the younger generation of Chaos Demon Sea, his third place ranking on the Rising Star list proof of his strength. Lin Dong found it curious that Jose had sought him out. "It's just a modest title," Jose chuckled, waving his hand before sitting down across from Lin Dong. After a pause, he added, "Imo Luo came to see me yesterday. He asked me to do what I could to prevent Su Xiu from winning, though he didn't explain why, and I didn't ask." Lin Dong was momentarily taken aback, then nodded. It seemed Imo Luo wasn't ready for many to know about the presence of the alien demons. News of it could easily tip them off and ruin his plans. "I figured you might know the reason, Brother Lin," Jose said with a smile. Lin Dong returned his smile, just about to respond when Jose shook his head. "I'm not asking you to explain. Tang Xinlian spoke to me about it as well, and I couldn't refuse her request." Lin Dong narrowed his eyes slightly, quickly understanding why Jose had approached him. It likely had something to do with Tang Xinlian. Over the past few days, he and Tang Xinlian had grown quite close, and Jose, it seemed, might be feeling a touch of jealousy. The thought made Lin Dong chuckle inwardly. Jose seemed like a carefree person, but he clearly had strong feelings for Tang Xinlian. Jose's expression flashed with a hint of embarrassment at the remark. He nodded slightly, about to say something, when the sound of wind tearing through the air came from above. A streak of fiery red darted swiftly across the sky, followed by a battalion of figures clad in scarlet armor, halting uniformly 100 meters from the pavilion. "Hey, what are you doing looking for Lin Dong? You're not planning to make trouble for him, are you?" Tang Xinlian stood poised in midair, her sharp gaze flicking between Lin Dong and Jose, her tone less than friendly. Jose shook his head hastily, throwing an arm around Lin Dong's shoulder with a laugh. No way. Lin Dong and I hit it off immediately. Why would I cause him any trouble? Lin Dong shrugged helplessly at Tang Xinlian, then teased, Done putting out fires already? For the past few days, Tang Xinlian had been bustling around Blaze City, and Lin Dong couldn't help but find it amusing. He even wondered if the troublemakers were acting up just for a chance to see Blaze City's brightest star. Exhausting. These guys just won't give me a break. Tang Xinlian sighed as she swept into the pavilion. She snatched the wine flask from Lin Dong's hand, taking a hearty swig. Lin Dong chuckled, noticing Jose's gaze fixed on the wine flask in her hand before he turned, eyes narrowing slightly. Still no news of Sushio or Hua Chun, Tang Xinlian said suddenly, holding the wine flask with a distant look. No rush. Tomorrow's the tournament. They'll show up then, Lin Dong replied calmly. In the tournament, leave Sushio to me, and Hua Chun. Jose can handle him. As for you, Lin Dong, let's wait and see how things unfold, Tang Xinlian said after a moment of thought. Sounds good. I'd also like to see what our friend from the Eastern Mystery region is made of, Jose said, smiling as he nodded. Lin Dong remained silent, though he could sense Tang Xinlian's concern. Both she and Jose were top contenders in the new star rankings, second and third, respectively. Even among the elders in their factions, few could match their strength. Her hesitation to let Lin Dong take the lead suggested she worried he might be outmatched. All right, that's settled. Lin Dong rose to his feet, but as he spoke, his eyes suddenly narrowed. He sensed a resonant hum from within, coming from the two ancestral talismans. Swish. Lin Dong's gaze shot in a certain direction, his body becoming a shadow as he leapt forward at top speed. Tang Xinlian and Jose, surprised at first, quickly followed. The enforcement squad behind Tang Xinlian saw her take off and immediately surged forward to follow. In the northwest of the city, on a barren mountain, Lin Dong's figure appeared like a specter, surveying the surroundings with a cold glint in his eyes. What's going on? Tang Xinlian and Jose arrived beside him, looking at him in confusion. Those two, they're here, and they're together, Lin Dong replied evenly. Sushio. There was something off about him if he was mingling with Hua Chun. Search the mountain. Tang Xinlian's brows knit together, and she commanded sharply. Yes. The 100-strong enforcement squad immediately responded, dispersing across the mountain in a flash, combing through every inch. Despite their thorough search, they found no trace of the pair. After a dozen minutes, the squad regrouped, evidently empty-handed. Slippery bastards. Tang Xinlian muttered, clenching her teeth. No matter. They'll be there tomorrow, let's go. Lin Dong smirked and turned to leave. Tang Xinlian and Jose exchanged glances before leading the enforcement team away as well. Around half an hour after they left, black mist seeped up from the ground far off on the mountain. Two figures emerged in a strange, ghostly manner. Heh, quite the sharp senses. They almost caught us, one figure said with a laugh, glancing in the direction Lin Dong and the others had gone. There's something peculiar about Lin Dong, rasped the figure cloaked in black robes. Yes, eliminating Hua Yuan's group couldn't have been easy without some hidden means, the first figure chuckled. This time, let's work together. We must get our hands on the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. And Lin Dong, he must die. Agreed. Let's go. Tomorrow, the show begins. I can hardly wait for that Thunder Ancestral Talisman. As he finished, black mist swirled, and the two figures faded eerily into the shadows, leaving the mountain silent and desolate once more. Countless radiant beams sliced through the sky, filling the heavens with dazzling splendor as they rose from Blaze City and the surrounding areas within 1,000 miles. The streams of light converged towards the heart of Blaze City with thunderous intensity. Today marked the beginning of the Thunder Dominion Tournament, a grand event hailed as the most anticipated gathering in the Chaos Demon Sea over the past decade. Just the thought of it was enough to stir one's blood. On a pavilion near the city center, Lin Dong, Mu Lingshan, Gu Mengqi, and others stood together, their gazes fixed upon a towering palace complex nearby, the headquarters of the Flame Deity Palace. Even from a distance, Lin Dong could sense the powerful and hidden auras within. It was no wonder the Flame Deity Palace stood as one of the dominant forces in the Chaos Demon Sea. Their strength was undeniably formidable. The skies around the palace grounds were teeming with people, their raucous voices reverberating upward, shaking the clouds themselves. Truly spectacular, Lin Dong murmured in admiration. Despite the events he had witnessed in the Celestial Wind Sea region and the Heavenly Thunder Sea region, this scene surpassed them all. Flame Deity Palace ranks among the very top forces in the Chaos Demon Sea, and with the allure of the Thunder Ancestral Talisman, it's no surprise their influence is so overwhelming, Gu Mengqi remarked with a smile. Lin Dong nodded in agreement, his thoughts interrupted as a surge of crimson figures suddenly poured out from the Flame Deity Palace, forming a vast line in the sky like a sea of fire. It was an army of nearly 1,000, each soldier armed with a massive spear and clad in crimson armor. The sheer force of their combined presence made even the strongest warriors in the crowd grow tense, some visibly tempering their previously unrestrained confidence. That's the Fire Deity Guard, Gu Mengqi explained softly. They are one of Flame Deity Palace's most formidable forces, always kept at exactly 1,000 members. Each time a new recruit joins, one veteran is forced out. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed, sensing the ruthless competition that must exist within this formidable unit. The Flame Deity Palace certainly lived up to its reputation. Look, it's Sister Xinlian, Guya suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Lin Dong's gaze followed hers, and there, at the front of the Fire Deity Guard, stood a striking figure in midair. The woman was tall, her crimson armor elegantly accentuating her curves. Her fiery red, wavy hair flowed freely, making her appear as fierce and mesmerizing as a living flame. This valiant figure could only be the Fire Fairy, Tang Xinlian. She held a unique crimson spear, its shaft adorned with phoenix wings that spread across its surface, and the tip formed into the image of a fiery phoenix with a menacing beak that gleamed with a cold, deadly light. A beautiful yet deadly weapon. She stood alone at the front of the Fire Deity Guard, yet no trace of feminine softness could be sensed from her. This fierce army, under her command, felt wholly natural, as if such authority and resolve were innate to her. Even Lin Dong had to admit, among the women he had met, Tang Xinlian's commanding presence was unmatched. Not even EngSubs of the Dao sect could quite compare. With Tang Xinlian's appearance, countless gazes in the sky were drawn to her, each one filled with admiration and awe. She was, without question, the center of attention in this vast gathering. Sister Xinlian is so impressive, Guya said with admiration. For a woman, a beautiful woman, no less, to reach such heights was no small feat. Although she is Mo Luo's top disciple, all her titles and honors are earned through her own strength, Gu Mengqi added softly. Lin Dong nodded thoughtfully, recognizing how much this young woman must have sacrificed for her hard-won reputation. The world is full of prodigies and talents, but few ever reach true greatness. This kind of proud woman, unwilling to stand in any man's shadow, truly possessed an allure of her own. But Lin Dong, you're not too shabby either. Mu Lingshan chimed in cheerfully. You came all the way from a minor dynasty in the Eastern Mystery region. At least Sister Xinlian has a Mo Luo looking out for her, but you did it all alone. That's even more impressive. Is he a freak of nature? Gu Mengqi laughed softly, covering her mouth. Her bright eyes sparkled as she looked at Lin Dong. She didn't know what he'd been like before, but here in the Chaos Demon Sea, she had witnessed him rise from obscurity to renown among the strongest. Correction. I'm not exactly alone. I have 2 brothers by my side, Lin Dong said, chuckling as he ruffled Mu Lingshan's hair. And really, no need to compare me to her. Competing with a girl doesn't give me much satisfaction. Gu Yin teased. Tang Girl would probably disagree if she heard that. Lin Dong could only shake his head helplessly at the playful banter from the group. But then, his gaze drifted toward the Flame Deity Palace. There, following the emergence of the Fire Deity Guard, a wave of blinding red light burst forth, and from it appeared a towering man clad in a crimson cloak, exuding a quiet but overwhelming authority. The instant he appeared, the air grew intensely hot, and flames danced around him, as if he were the very king of fire. The noise of the crowd faded, stifled by the sheer pressure of his presence. Even the most rebellious warriors couldn't help but feel a flicker of awe when they looked at that powerful figure. This was Luo, the Flame Deity Palace's leader, master of the Flame Ancestral Talisman. He was a supreme figure, famous not only in the Chaos Demon Sea but across distant realms, a name that commanded respect and fear. Standing amidst waves of fire, Luo's crimson gaze swept across the crowd, and anyone who met his eyes felt a scorching sensation, instinctively shifting their gaze away in terror. First, I thank you all for attending the tournament hosted by my Flame Deity Palace. Luo's deep, imposing voice echoed across the sky, making ears ring. There are no complex rules. Victory determines all. The ultimate victor will become the new owner of the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. With a sweeping motion, Luo released a beam of red light, which shot into the sky and transformed into a colossal, red mirror about 10,000 feet wide. Waves rippled across its surface, revealing an expansive land of verdant mountains, a realm contained within the mirror itself. This is the boundless mirror of my Flame Deity Palace. It contains its own world, and it will serve as the battlefield for this tournament. Within the mirror lies Boundless Mountain, where you will face your final challenge. As Luo finished speaking, the massive mirror shimmered, revealing an awe-inspiring mountain that loomed like a pillar propping up the heavens. The Thunder Ancestral Talisman lies at the peak of Boundless Mountain. The dense fog at the mountain's summit parted, revealing the faint glimmer of ancient lightning. A single ancient rune pulsed with a vast, primeval energy, captivating countless gazes, their eyes gleaming with red intensity and breaths quickening. Everyone knew the power of an ancestral talisman. With the Thunder Ancestral Talisman, they, too, could one day attain a standing as formidable as Luo's. Boundless Mountain has 10 peaks, each bearing a summit seal. Only those who acquire a summit seal may ascend the mountain. In other words, only the strongest 10 will have the right to vie for the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. Lin Dong swallowed in amazement. The number of powerful participants here was staggering, with countless hidden masters in their midst, yet only 10 would be permitted to ascend Boundless Mountain. The competition was brutal indeed. This concludes the introduction, Luo said, grinning. Then, his voice boomed like a war drum. I now declare the Thunder Dominion Tournament begins. A thunderous cheer erupted across the land as countless red-eyed figures surged forward like a tidal wave, flooding into the colossal mirror above in an exhilarating scene that set pulses racing. Good luck, Brother Lindong Lingshan. Gu Ya's cheeks were flushed from the excitement, and she called out with a cheerful laugh. Lin Dong nodded, then looked up, his gaze falling on a bright, poised figure in the distance, hovering in midair with a phoenix flame spear in hand. She tilted her head, flashing him a faint smile before brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, her slender form transforming into a streak of light as she dashed toward the glowing mirror. As she departed, a playful laugh drifted toward Lin Dong from afar, gradually reaching his ears. Lin Dong, don't fall too far behind now, or I won't hold back on you. Lin Dong let out a hearty laugh, his spirits lifted. With a nod, he called out, Ling Shan, let's go. Mu Ling Shan gave a cheerful nod, raising her hands as a massive black coffin lid materialized. Together, they leaped forward, merging into the crowd of figures streaming into the glowing mirror. At long last, the grand event had begun. Before them stretched endless azure mountains, a vast expanse of lush greenery blanketing the earth. Towering peaks rose like colossal giants, their presence looming in this boundless space. Now and then, the fierce roars of beasts echoed through the air, bursting with vitality. Boom! The serene, vast space was abruptly pierced by a thunderous sound. The sky seemed to split open, and countless beams of light poured down like a torrential storm, descending upon the verdant mountains. These uninvited guests stirred the formerly peaceful mirrored realm into a frenzy of commotion. Shoo! In a secluded spot amid the rolling landscape, two figures materialized, Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan. The moment they appeared, they couldn't help but gaze around in curiosity. Lin Dong's eyes lit up with surprise as he remarked, I didn't expect the Flame Deity Palace to have such a pure primordial treasure that creates its own space. This boundless mirror clearly shared similarities with the heaven-burning cauldron. Both treasures held independent realms within, though the former brimmed with vitality, while the latter was a scorched, desert-like wasteland. So many people. Mu Ling Shan looked up, her large eyes sparkling with excitement as she gazed at the multitude of figures in the sky, reminiscent of a dazzling firework display. Indeed, quite a crowd, Lin Dong chuckled, raising his palm to reveal a glowing imprint. It had appeared automatically upon their entry into the boundless mirror, a safeguard allowing them to exit if they encountered danger. Crushing the imprint would eject them from the mirror, but also forfeit their chance to claim the Thunder Ancestral Talisman. Soon after Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan landed, other figures began to descend around them, each warrior casting a wary glance before moving swiftly toward the vast mountain range, without any wasted words. "Let's get moving," Lin Dong said with a smile. He could sense the primordial energy in the air, growing turbulent as more warriors poured in. Battles were already breaking out, for there was only one Thunder Ancestral Talisman and only one final victor. To most, everyone here was a competitor. "Let's go." With a low shout, Lin Dong's figure became a streak of green light shooting forward, with a petite figure swiftly following him as they dashed into the sprawling forest, racing toward the center of this realm, the boundless mountain, the final battleground. The atmosphere of this space had become intense, as warriors flooded in like a swarm of locusts. Countless skirmishes erupted everywhere, filling the air with the scent of conflict. Beyond these intruders, powerful beasts lurked in the vast mountains, forcing the competitors to watch their backs against both rivals and the ferocious creatures of this land. Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan navigated swiftly through the primeval forest, thick with an ancient aura. They encountered dozens of fights along the way, but they pressed forward, determined to reach Boundless Mountain and secure the summit seal, the key to scaling its heights. Occasionally, they faced a few unwelcome interlopers, but Lin Dong rarely needed to lift a finger. Mu Ling Shan, wielding her massive black coffin lid, cheerfully dispatched any who stood in their way, flinging them from the mirrored realm. As they ventured deeper, Lin Dong began sensing increasingly powerful auras. Clearly, those who had advanced this far were not to be trifled with. Tap. Lin Dong's foot lightly touched a thick branch as he darted forward like an arrow. His gaze narrowed as he peered through the gaps in the trees at the sky beyond, knowing that Tang Xinlian and the others were likely racing toward Boundless Mountain at a remarkable speed. Yet who would be the first to arrive? The moment Lin Dong lifted his gaze to the sky, a sudden shift appeared on Mu Ling Shan's delicate face. Instantly, she sprang forward, her toes barely grazing the branch of a sturdy tree as her petite figure shot ahead. In her hands, the life and death coffin lid swept out with fierce momentum, unleashing a black wave of energy that surged forth. Swish, swish. As the dark wave spread, sharp, bone-chilling gusts shot out from the dense forest. The two forces collided in a thunderous explosion, unleashing wild currents that splintered the nearby trees with brutal force. In the aftermath, figures ghosted from the shadows of broken tree stumps, each one fixing a menacing gaze on Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan. Lin Dong, now perched on a tree, narrowed his eyes at the six figures before him. They were striking in appearance, each cloaked in blood-red robes and wielding long, crimson-edged execution blades, each one nearly a full zhang in length and exuding an eerie brilliance. What surprised Lin Dong most was that all six of them exuded an aura on the brink of the death mystique stage. A faint aura of death lingered about them, swirling over their bodies. Heh, didn't think we'd catch such a big fish. Isn't this the rookie who's recently climbed the ranks on the newcomers list? One of the six, a gaunt-faced man, gave Lin Dong a sinister grin. You're the blood execution guard, aren't you? Lin Dong's brow furrowed as he addressed the group. Looks like our reputation isn't so easily ignored. One of them replied with a smile, albeit one tinged with a bloodthirsty edge. The Blood Execution Guard was a notorious team within the Chaos Demon Sea. Comprising 6 members, they held spots 12 through 18 on the newcomers list. But mere rankings didn't capture their true menace. Half a year earlier, they had combined their strength to kill an elite ranked 8th on the list, creating quite a stir. Though their individual abilities were not extraordinary, their cooperative combat style multiplied their power exponentially. If rankings accounted for combined battle strength, the Blood Execution Guard could easily breach the top 10 or even higher. Recognizing this infamous team, a flicker of caution rose within Lin Dong. Well, what will it be? The gaunt man lifted his serrated blade, pointing it at Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan with a cold smile. Will you crush your spirit seals yourselves, or leave your heads behind? They were called the Blood Execution Guard because their enemies inevitably lost their heads, a macabre pastime they savored. Lin Dong replied with a faint smile, though a glint of sharp resolve surfaced in his eyes. Clenching his hand, he summoned the Thunder Emperor's scepter, its gleaming shaft crackling with power that echoed through the forest. Ling Shan, let's end this quickly. With the Thunder Emperor's scepter in hand, Lin Dong's expression turned frigid, his intent to kill spreading like ice through the trees. Blaze City. As waves of people flooded into the boundless mirror, the sky overhead fractured into thousands of mirrored fragments. Each mirror projected a scene of the vast battlefield, capturing fierce battles unfolding in the misted realm below. Look, that's the Blood Execution Guard. And facing them, isn't that the rookie, Lin Dong? Well, this should be interesting. Didn't think these two fierce sides would clash so soon. The Blood Execution Guard isn't easy to handle, but Lin Dong's no pushover either. This could be a show worth watching. Excited murmurs echoed as gazes turned to a prominent mirror, revealing Lin Dong and the Blood Execution Guard in a tense forest standoff. On a distant pavilion, Gu Mingqi and her two companions also noticed the commotion. Gu Yin and Gu Ye exchanged concerned looks. They had heard all too well of the Blood Execution Guard's vicious reputation. It seemed Lin Dong's luck was less than ideal, encountering such ruthless adversaries so soon. A sudden boom of thunder cracked through the forest. A figure cloaked in green light burst forward like lightning, wild energy radiating from the silver scepter in his grasp. Clang! At the same instant, 6 blood-red execution blades descended, each infused with intense primordial energy. With precise coordination, they struck the Thunder Emperor's scepter at its 6 weakest points. Sparks erupted as waves of force spread across the forest floor, gouging deep trenches and toppling trees like splintered matchsticks. The 6 members of the Blood Execution Guard were all forced back a dozen steps, regrouping into a semicircle midair. Their grips tightened around their Beast Slayer blades, as a sharp pain spread through their palms. No wonder he made it into the top 10 of the Rising Star rankings. He does have some skill, muttered the gaunt-faced man, licking his lips. A hint of seriousness filled his gaze as he eyed Lin Dong. Though Lin Dong's strength appeared only at the perfect completion of the Life Mystique stage, his combat power was fierce enough to leave even them astonished. Despite their coordinated efforts, the 6 of them hadn't gained the slightest advantage. Lin Dong's expression remained calm. These 6 fought with impressive teamwork, their tactics perfectly synchronized. They used identical martial arts, enhancing each other's moves, making them difficult to contend with. However, such collaboration had its downsides. If even one of them were separated from the group, their strength would sharply decrease. Ling Shan, isolate one of them, Lin Dong commanded in a low voice. Understood. Mu Ling Shan, who had been waiting nearby, immediately nodded, her petite figure darting forward. With the life and death coffin lid in hand, she aimed a powerful strike at one of the guards. Courting death. Seeing this, the 6 guards' gazes hardened, preparing to counter as one. But in a flash, a figure wreathed in a greenish glow appeared ghost-like before them. The Thunder Emperor's scepter left a trail of afterimages, trapping 5 of them within its range. Lin Dong and Mu Ling Shan's sudden intervention split the Blood Execution Guard in 2. In that moment of separation, the previously sharp aura of the guards dulled considerably. Thunder Dragon Skylocking Staff. An immense surge of primordial energy burst from Lin Dong's body. He shook the Thunder Emperor's scepter, and a lightning dragon sprang forth. Its tail whipped out with astounding force, colliding directly with the beast slayer blades held by the 5 guards. Boom! The resounding thunder echoed as the 5 guards were sent flying back. Arcs of lightning clung to their blades, racing down toward their hands and infiltrating their bodies, causing their hair to stand on end.
Ugh.
The guards drove their beast slayer blades heavily into the ground to steady themselves. Faint scorch marks appeared on their faces, evidence of the lightning's harsh impact. "This one's a tough nut to crack," one guard muttered, his voice thick with apprehension as he eyed Lin Dong's lean figure approaching slowly, Thunder Emperor's scepter in hand. The other 4 guards looked similarly grim. They had heard of Lin Dong, but never expected him to overwhelm them so swiftly. "Next time, be more cautious about who you cross. I'm on a tight schedule and can't afford to waste time." Lin Dong paused, a cold smile on his lips. Suddenly, a lightning mark extended from the center of his brow, forming into a bizarre, lightning-filled eye that radiated intense, ferocious energy. "Retreat!" the gaunt-faced man shouted, his expression shifting. Boom! But just as his voice rang out, the lightning eye on Lin Dong's forehead erupted. A 100-foot bolt of lightning burst forth, like a thunder dragon with claws bared, roaring as it shot forward. The bolt tore through the earth, leaving a massive gash in its wake and reducing the surrounding ground to rubble. Beast Slayer Blade. Seeing the lightning dragon rushing at them with fierce intensity, the 5 blood execution guards moved as one. Their blades rose high, eyes glinting with resolve. In that moment, their primordial energy surged, combining to form a colossal blade of blood-red energy. Images of 100 monstrous beasts flickered along the blade's length, each letting out piercing roars that shook the heart. Boom! The clash between Lightning Dragon and Blood-Red Blade erupted, sending a shockwave that rippled out in all directions, flattening the nearby forest. As the dust settled, figures emerged from the forest's remains, floating in midair. They stared at the battle's origin, murmuring in astonishment at the sheer intensity. Whoever was fighting here was not to be trifled with. Through the fading dust, a lone figure wielding a scepter slowly came into view, standing across from the battered, exhausted blood execution guard. "Is that Lin Dong? Wow, he's actually facing off against the blood execution guard. Seems like those guys finally met their match with him." The blood execution guard's 6-man formation is nearly unbeatable, even against the Rising Star top 10, but today, Lin Dong made them pay. Observing the confrontation from above, murmurs and wary glances rippled through the onlookers in the sky. Lin Dong looked impassively at the 5 exhausted guards, then glanced at the 6th, entangled with Mu Ling Shan. With a hint of ice in his voice, he said, "Still waiting to break your soul seals? Or do you want me to take your heads?" Hearing the chill in Lin Dong's tone, the 5 guards exchanged uneasy glances before biting their lips. Lin Dong, mountains don't move but rivers flow. Although they had suffered a rather messy defeat, the group couldn't resist putting on a brave front to save face. But as they finished speaking, Lin Dong's expression suddenly darkened, sending a chill down their spines. Without hesitation, they crushed the spirit seals in their hands. As the seals shattered, the space around them distorted, and they were immediately transported out of the boundless mirror. "Damn it, what rotten luck!" cursed the last blood execution guard resentfully. Reluctantly, he crushed his own spirit seal, abandoning his fight with Mu Lingshan and escaping from the boundless mirror as well. "Emph!" Mu Lingshan scoffed, clutching the life and death coffin lid. "These guys sure made a grand entrance, but who'd have thought they'd fold so easily? Let's go." Lin Dong flipped his hand, stowing away the Thunder Emperor's scepter. He cast a glance around at the strong figures hovering in the skies above, each drawn out by the commotion. With a slight frown, he darted swiftly into the depths of the forest. Seeing Lin Dong's approach, several of the powerful onlookers in the sky quickly moved aside. None of them dared to provoke him. As Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan faded into the distance, a shadowy figure emerged, ghost-like, atop a large tree nearby. Watching the two of them leave, a faint, chilling smile crept across his lips as he murmured, "No wonder you managed to take down Hua Yuan and his men. You've got some skill, all right?" However, I've got orders from the sect.